Uno,
Can you guys hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, I apologize for that. I didn't realize that the mic was off. Okay, good. Sorry about that. I've been yapping for 10 minutes now, and no one on Zoom can hear me. But okay. So I was saying, so today, we're just going to be doing an introduction to the class and the syllabus. So I don't plan on actually lecturing on any content. We're going to start that on Thursday. Okay. Okay. So how is this different? So why are you taking another math class after slogging through calculus and differential equations and linear algebra? Well, the thing is, engineering and math and the math department kind of exists, we're frenemies, I guess we like to call it. So math covers kind of the basics of what we want you guys to know, but there's still some more specialized topics that we need you to know for the future. So, we teach this math class for you to learn those skills, okay? But kind of the main reason we have this class is to kind of give you guys a chance to see the applications of all these mathematical techniques that you've been learning, okay? And by teaching this class within an engineering department, we can show those examples, we can see those applications, and kind of make that kind of the focus of this class. And so that's one thing I really want to focus on this class, is to show you, not only teach you how to solve a differential equation, but then show you, how is this relevant to engineering work? Where do we actually use it? And we can do that from an engineering class. Okay. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay, good. Okay. So let's talk about where this is used. And so, what I'm showing you, what you're seeing here is that this is a simulation. So you can see it's a sports car. And what this figure is showing is a simulation of the airflow over the sports car as it's driving down the freeway. Okay. So each of these lines that you're seeing here is the path of the air as it flows over the sports car. Okay. So a simulation like this is only possible by solving the differential equations that govern fluid heat. Okay, so this class is kind of central to something like this, which is used, all the time in engineering practice today. Okay. This right here, I was looking for a screenshot. I was looking for an application from structural engineering, but maybe some of you have played this game. So this is a video game called Polybridge. So in this game, you design kind of wacky kind of bridges to kind of transport cars from one end of the river to the next, and so. Any kind of design or any kind of structural engineering, again, relies on mathematical equations. So you're going to need to know how to solve them. Okay? And circuits. And so I know that probably the majority of people in here are mechanical engineers. And seeing a circuit like this probably is a little bit scary, but circuits are, also a very important part of a lot of different engineering disciplines. And it's kind of just so happens that their behavior is governed by differential equations as well. So, we'll be visiting circuits a little bit in this class, but it's not going to be too much of a focus. Okay. And so, the most important, or probably the most prominent application for mathematics and engineering is that it allows you to build models of physical phenomena. Okay. And what models allow you to do is that it allows you to predict physical behavior without actually trying it yourself. Okay. And so, for instance, if you look at the water coming out of the spout, you can solve the equations for fluid flow to predict, what's the velocity, what's the pressure of the fluid coming out. Okay. Without having to actually build an entire testing rig and have water come out of the spout. Okay. And that's really important because a lot of engineering, projects are very, very costly. So let's say you work for an aerospace company, I have no idea what that was. And you want to build a prototype airplane, it's going to be difficult for you to go to your managers at Boeing and say, like, hey, I have this new airplane design that I want to try out. Can I build it? And then probably your managers are probably going to say, they're not going to say that. They may curse, that might be the curse sensor. But they're going to say, no, that's going to cost way too much money. So they're going to tell you to simulate it instead. Okay. So mathematical modeling, is important. And kind of the further you get and the more complex engineering systems that you start to work on, modeling becomes just that much more important. So, if you're going to be working in modeling or analysis or design and optimization or simulation, you need to have a good grasp of the mathematical concepts. Okay. So I want to give you kind of well, hopefully not a realistic situation, but what, an illustration of what can happen if you don't use mathematical modeling. Okay. So this is in the medical field. So let's say that, we need to develop a new heart surgery. Okay. So let's say that you have a patient, he has some pain in his chest, he has a heart attack, he goes to the hospital, and then they go under the operation. Okay. And let's say that this person has some kind of rare disease in their heart, which the doctors have never seen before. Okay. But they're inside the hospital, so the doctors have to do something to try to save them. Okay. So without any kind of modeling, without any kind of knowledge of the mathematics of how blood flow works, the doctors would be like, I don't know, man, try something. And so, they'll try something, they'll connect something somewhere, and then they'll ask, did it work? Is this person alive? If it did, that's great. Then you discovered a new surgery just completely by accident. But if it didn't, then, that's kind of an unfortunate result. So, if you don't have mathematical modeling, you basically are doing what I call kind of a trial and error type approach, where you kind of try something, it doesn't work, then you try again. Okay. And for industries where, it's either very expensive financially or very expensive in terms of the cost of life, this is not an acceptable result. Okay? But, if you did have, mathematical modeling simulations, computer tools, you can simulate. And so, let's say that you're considering, developing a new surgery, you can simulate it in a computer using the equations of fluid flow, the equations of blood flow, and determine before you even try it out on a person, whether that surgery is going to work out. Okay. And that's much more desirable because, because then you don't put people's lives at risk. Okay. And so you combine it all, you say someone comes into the hospital, they need an operation. If you try it out in digitally first with simulations and mathematical modeling, it increases your chance of success dramatically. Okay. Any questions on this so far? Okay. All right. So just kind of, again, if you can't use math, you're just going to have to do trial and error, or, maybe you rely on kind of expert opinion. So in this case, if it's cold, probably your grandma always used to tell you to put on a sweater. Okay. But, the exact relationship between, putting on a sweater and whether you get sick or not, that's not really clear because we don't have the mathematical formulas to determine. Okay. So, one thing that's going to be kind of a trend in this class too is that, this class is a little bit different from your previous math classes in that, not all the time are we going to be solving for one particular variable. Okay. Sometimes that's the key. Sometimes the solution is just to solve for one thing. But really, the real value of mathematical modeling is that it gives you insight or gives you a stronger understanding of how a physical system will behave. Okay. Because when you have a mathematical model that models your system, you can easily change things like the geometry. You can change things like the loading conditions, boundary conditions, and you can see how the system's going to respond. Okay, and that kind of ability to tinker with your design and kind of see the result is kind of a key factor to design, and it's how a lot of design is conducted nowadays. Okay, and so through that, you can use this information to lead to better designs that you may not have initially planned for. And so maybe you have a part that looks like this, and then through mathematical modeling and through simulations, you're able to come up with this design that may perform exactly the same, but you've reduced the weight by 20%. Okay, and you did this mostly by changing the cross section, and this is only possible with a mathematical model that you can use to model the behavior. Okay. Okay, and a lot of times, there are multiple ways to solve a problem as well. Okay, and actually, that's something we're going to go over kind of for the first half of the class as well. And being able to select the best method for analysis or being able to select the best method for solution, that's going to be an important skill as well for you guys to learn. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay, so next thing I want to show you is just kind of an overview of the course. Okay, so in the middle here we have engineering analysis. These are kind of the 5 broad topic areas, and so these are kind of the big chapters, I guess you can say, that we're going to go over in the class. So we're going to start here. So we're going to start with a review of differential equations. I know probably a lot of you covered it in Math 250D already, but differential equations is a really important part of engineering analysis, and so we're going to go through that again. We'll go through it fairly quickly, but it's an important step to learn. And then from there, we're going to go to Laplace transforms, which is an important tool for vibrations, 431. And then we'll go to vector calculus, and then Fourier analysis. And then at the end of the semester, we're going to go over some statistics. Okay. And then you can further break this down. So these are kind of the broad topic areas of the class. And so if you further break it down, you'll see that there are a lot of kind of subtopics within here as well. Okay. Now this is a lot. I know it's a lot of topics because it's literally the entire semester in kind of one bubble chart. So don't worry about memorizing this chart or taking a picture or anything like that. We'll be going through this throughout the rest of the exhibits. Okay, so let's go over the syllabus now. Okay, so the syllabus I've published on the Canvas site. So I think I emailed it to everyone as well. There's a link to it, but I did want to go over together at least the important parts, just so that kind of we're all on the same page. Okay, and then after we're done talking about the syllabus, we'll go ahead and move on to the course website and toward that as well. Okay, so let's talk about office hours. Okay, so my office is in the engineering building, like I mentioned before. So it's in engineering 220, and my office hour times are the following. So I have office hours 3 times a week. So I have office hours on Monday morning from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. And now these ones are virtual only because I'm not on campus on Monday mornings, but I will be available on Zoom. And then I also have office hours Tuesday and Thursday from 2:30 to 3:30 p.m., which is kind of right before the lecture. Okay. So for Tuesday and Thursdays, I will be in my office on those days, but you can also attend those on Zoom as well. Okay. So office hours, I think for the most part are your chance to kind of ask questions about the course content. So maybe you're confused about a lecture, you're confused about a homework problem, or you're confused about an upcoming exam. Office hours are kind of your chance to kind of ask those questions, get those answered. Okay. But honestly, a lot of the times I'm just kind of sitting in my office, just answering emails. And so if you just stop by and just want to chat, that's fine too. Okay. But of course, I'll give priority to the students that are asking questions. Okay, course learning objectives. And so, we already talked about learning objectives at the beginning of class today, but I also have learning objectives kind of at the course level. So by the time you finish this course, you should be able to do these 5 things. Okay. So, I use these to kind of organize the class. And so, these are kind of good to kind of keep in mind as we go through the class. Okay, let's talk deliverables. And so this class is fairly standard. So there's going to be homework assignments, 2 midterm exams, and 1 final exam. Okay. I have 7 homework assignments planned, not counting homework 0. So that's why I call homework 0. But there are actually 7 problem sets for you to do. Okay. The lowest homework will be dropped, just because I know, throughout the course of a busy semester, it's kind of hard to stay on top of all of your deadlines. So I do want to give you the flexibility so that, if you miss 1 homework assignment, that, it's not going to be the end. So the lowest homework is automatically dropped. If you're on top of all your homework assignments for the entire semester, that kind of gives you a freebie at the end, so you can just not do the last homework. A lot of people do that. Okay. But please do them all. Okay. So I'm very intentional with my homework assignments. I try not to waste your time with them, although you probably won't believe me until the end of the semester. So the thing, when you're learning a new skill, it's one thing to kind of listen to some guy talk about it twice a week for 75 minutes. But you don't really learn those skills unless you actually try them yourself. And so the homework assignments are kind of your chance to kind of, try them yourself. Right? I know it's a struggle. I know they take a long time, but it's kind of impossible to learn how to solve a differential equation by just listening to the lectures. You have to kind of do it yourself. The homeworks are fairly low stakes, and so homeworks are only worth 10%. So don't be afraid to struggle with the homework. Turn in something that may not be 100% correct. So that's your chance to learn. Okay, so between the 2 midterm exams, the midterms are not cumulative. So we'll have midterm 1, I think, approximately of week 7. So that'll cover the first 6 weeks of the course. Midterm 2, I think, is approximately week 13. So that'll cover the previous 6 weeks. So neither midterm is cumulative, but the final will be cumulative. Okay. The exams are also going to take place in person. And so, I know there are a few people on Zoom. So, for the lectures, I don't mind if you're on Zoom, if you come in person, it doesn't make any difference to me. But for the exams, you do have to attend in person for the exams. Okay. So those are the only days that, that you have to be. Okay. So the first midterm exam is planned for Thursday, March 6th. Okay. Second midterm exam is going to be on Thursday, April 17th. And the final exam, that is a typo there. Final exam is on Tuesday. So final exam is going to be Tuesday, May 13th from 5 to 6:50. Okay. All the exams are going to take place in this room. Okay? So if there's a scheduling conflict or you're not able to make it to the exam dates, please let me know as soon as possible. Just so that we can kind of make arrangements. Okay. Also, for the final exam, we can't change it. That's something that's set by the registrar. So that's going to be Tuesday, May 13th, no matter what. But for the 2 midterm exams, I do have some flexibility. We can kind of push it back. Okay. I know it happens every semester, and it's not a conspiracy. I don't text the other professor and say, hey, when's your exam? Let's put them all on the same date. No, that doesn't happen. So it just so happens that a lot of exams get planned together. So if you guys are slammed during that week and you need me to push it back or you want me to push it up, just let me know. I'm flexible with those exam dates, and we can move them if it'll benefit the class. Okay. Okay. Any questions on this so far? Good. Okay, let's talk about grades. And so I think this is fairly standard grading breakdown, but there is kind of one little wrinkle in there. Okay, so homeworks are going to be worth 10%. Your 2 midterm exams together is going to be worth 50% of your grade. And your final exam will be worth 40%. Okay. Now for the 2 midterm grades, you can see that one of the midterm exams is going to be worth 30%, and the other midterm exam is worth 20%. Okay. So what that means basically is that whichever of the 2 midterm exams you score higher in, I'm going to count that as a higher weight towards your grade. Okay. So let's say you take midterm 1, you get maybe 49 out of 50, that's a 98%. That's going to count towards 30% of your grade. Second midterm, maybe you don't do so hot, then that one's going to be worth less. Okay. So I do this for a couple of reasons, just because high stakes exams can be high stakes, can be very stressful. Maybe you're not able to study as well for one of the exams. So I want to give you some flexibility so that maybe if you didn't do so well on the first exam, you have a much higher ability on the second exam to make up for it and improve your grade to a much better spot. Okay. And on the flip side, let's say you do really well on the first exam, I always tell people that's money in the bank. And so, then you can, don't slack off for the second exam, but, at least you can kind of breathe a little bit more easily that, you have a lot of your grade already kind of locked in. Okay. And then at the end of the semester, once all the grades are in, I will assign letter grades according to this scale here. So I think this scale is fairly kind of straightforward. Okay. So 90% above is A, 80% to 90 to 89% is B's, and so on and so forth. Okay. At the very end of the semester, I do apply scaling sometimes. And so what that means is that, if the overall class average at the end of the semester is below a certain threshold, so for EGME 308, the threshold I usually use is about 78, 79%. So if it's below that threshold, then what I'll do is I'll add points to everyone's grade until that average is where it needs to be. Okay. So for the exams, people will ask this anyway. I don't curve any of the exams. I kind of wait until the very end before applying any kind of adjustments. All right. Any questions on the grades? Good. All right. Textbook. Textbook is required, just because this is a required course, but it doesn't have to be this particular edition. In fact, I think the edition of the textbook that I'm using is quite old now, just because it's the one I got for free when I started here, and I don't want to pay for another one. But it's not something that you need to. I don't assign readings from the textbook. I don't assign problems from the textbook. I write all my own problems. I write all my own lecture notes. All of those are available to you. So I would say most people kind of just take this class and just use my posted lecture notes. They just use my homework assignments. But if you want to see some additional example problems, you want to have some additional practice, when you're preparing for the exams. The textbook is also a little bit more thorough in going over the theory. It's a good resource for that, but I definitely wouldn't pay more than $50 per textbook. Okay. If you can, and if you just so happen to be, sailing the high seas and you find a PDF version of the textbook, I would say that's probably the best way to. Okay. It's been, I don't know, I graduated from college back in 2013, but I still have a burning hatred for the textbook companies that made me spend hundreds of dollars on textbooks. It was so hard to get rid of. And so I can be a very resentful person. And so I still hold on to that grudge to this day. Okay. All right, course website. So we'll be taking a tour of the course website after this. But basically, I try to use the Canvas site as much as I can, and any content that I produce for the class, so lecture notes, lecture slides, homework assignments, solutions, exam solution study guides, any kind of handouts that I create, pretty much everything is going to be on Canvas. Okay, all the links to the lecture recordings as well will be on Canvas. Okay. Also, the any announcements that I make on Canvas will also be emailed to you as well. So, make sure that you're active on the Canvas website. Okay, let's talk about kind of the last of the course policies here. So homeworks. So I do accept late homeworks. So, even though there's a due date for all the homeworks, you can still turn it in after the due date. I accept homework up to a week after it's due. Okay. But just be aware that each day that a homework assignment is late, I do dock 10% off the maximum allowable. Okay. So I think most people will be turning in their homeworks on Canvas, but if you want, you can also turn it in physically to me as well. I don't think anyone's done that for 3 years now. But also, if Canvas is being weird and you can't upload it there, you can always just scan it and email it to me as well. So I accept that too. Regrades. And so, I make mistakes. I try not to. You may not believe me, but I try not to make mistakes when I'm grading, but it happens sometimes. Okay. And so if you want me to take a look at one of your homework assignments or your exams again, and you want me to do a regrade, I'm always happy to do that. Okay. The only restriction that I have on regrades is that you have to do it within a week after I return something to you. Okay. So let's say you take an exam on a Thursday, I return it to you the next Thursday. You have until the Thursday after that to come to me and ask for a regrade. Okay. So part of the reason I do this is, I don't want you guys coming to me in week 16 and say, oh, can you regrade my homework 1? I really need the points to get to an A. I'm going to tell you that was 3 months ago. You know, we're not going to look at it again. But also, you know, when I grade things for you guys, your homeworks especially, and the exams, you know, I'm not just marking things correct and incorrect. You know, I'm leaving you guys comments, I'm leaving you guys feedback in terms of, you know, what I think can kind of help bridge your understanding or help you improve. Okay. I want you guys to be reading those comments in kind of a timely manner. Because the thing is with feedback is that if you read the feedback a little bit too late, you know, it's not really that helpful to you. And so if you wait until week 16 to read my feedback on exam 1 to you, you know, we covered that. That was like 2.5 months ago. It's not really going to be inside your mind at that point. So, you know, I really want you guys to, you know, when you get feedback, when you get grades, you know, look at them, read them, you know, make sure I didn't add up anything incorrectly or I didn't mark things down incorrectly. So, you know, that's kind of why I do that. Okay. Emails. You know, if you do need to contact me, I do prefer that you email me directly. I know that Canvas has a messaging system on there, and you can use that. I'm not going to get mad at you if you use it, but you know, I do prefer that you send it to my email so that all my communication is kind of in one place. Okay? And if you do email me, I do ask that you put EGME 308 in the subject line. Just so I know that, you know, that you're emailing me about this class, because, you know, I'm teaching 3 different classes. I do advising, have, you know, research collaborations, and so it can be in lots of times. So if you tell me kind of in the subject line that you're asking me about 308, then I can kind of respond to you sooner. Right? Usually I'm pretty good with emails, and so I will answer all of them. Even your homework zeros, I will answer your email on that too. So usually I'll answer your emails within 48 hours. A lot of times sooner than that if I happen to be on my computer, except on weekends. Okay. Okay. Any questions on this so far? Okay. Okay. Academic dishonesty. So, you know, our college has very strict policies on academic dishonesty. So, you know, if you commit it, you know, there's not much I can do. There's kind of strict things that we have to do. Okay. So that includes, you know, copying someone's work, you know, using kind of a technology inappropriately. And especially, you know, I want to talk about the use of AI, like ChatGPT. Okay. So I consider the use of AI to complete assignments as academic dishonesty. If I catch it, you know, then, you know, I'm going to throw the book at it, right? So I take a very hardline stance to this, I think maybe compared to other faculty, but, you know, my reasoning is this. And so, you know, we're kind of entering a world right now where kind of everyone's kind of asking the question of, you know, what can AI do? Right? AI can actually be very successful in kind of doing university courses like this, because, you know, you're learning kind of things for the first time. So things are fairly basic. And AI is you know, understandably very easy, very good at doing very basic stuff. Right? So it can solve differential equations, it can write you an essay, things like that. You know, if this were a situation where I'm assigning you homework and I just need you to do it, and I'm going to sell your homework or something like that, in other words, you know, this is a for-profit thing, then yeah, you know, then I wouldn't care. You can use AI to just get it done, just so we can all kind of profit. Okay? But education is different. So the reason you're in this class and the reason you're getting a degree, the reason you're in university is to learn these skills. And if someone else is doing that for you, whether it be your buddy or whether it be AI, you know, you're not using those skills. Okay. And I think, you know, we're not too far from a future. In fact, it's probably happening right now, where a lot of employers are kind of, you know, trying to replace their staff and employees with AI. Education is no different, you know, and you know, there's probably conversation going on right now saying, you know, how soon can we replace Justin with AI Justin, and then take Justin's salary and pay the chancellor even more money than she has, right? She may say otherwise, but, you know, I guarantee you that that's a conversation being held right now. And so, you know, I'm very much, you know, I practice what I preach, where I don't use AI in any of my work, because, you know, for the past couple of years, you know, I want to basically show people that, you know, I can provide more value to you as students than an AI ever could. Okay. And I think, you know, we're not too far from future where you have to illustrate that to your employer as well. And so, you know, to kind of, you know, emphasize on that, you know, I don't allow the use of any kind of AI in this class. You know, for this class, you know, it's mostly just going to be the homework assignments, you know, unless you have a ChatGPT chip, you know, implanted in your brain, you know, it's going to be very hard to use it on the exams. But, you know, please don't use it, because it's going to benefit you in the long run if you learn this. I know it's more of a hassle. I know it's more of a pain. You know, math is not the you know, not the most exciting subject. And so it's going to be very tempting to, you know, to pass the problems to ChatGPT and have them solve for you. I get it. But you know, it's you know, it's for the greater good. Okay? And my promise to you is that, you know, if you ever feel like you're struggling in the course, if you feel like you're falling behind and you feel like you need to use ChatGPT or copy off someone to catch up or something, you know, I always tell people, you know, at least give me a chance to help you first. Okay. My job here, and I've never felt my job here, is to judge you guys or look down on you guys or to, you know, look, you know, criticize you guys. Okay? My job here is to help you learn the skills, help you succeed, help you achieve your goals, help you graduate. Okay. And I promise you that I will do everything that I can to do that. Okay? Even if you come to me week 16 and say, you know, I bombed the 2 midterms, you know, I'm going to fail this course, you know, but I really want to pass. You know, I will always tell people, all right, you know, let's do this. Let's figure out what you need to do, you know, to get back on track. And I promise you, I will do everything I can to help. Okay. But if you cheat, if you use AI, at that point, there's nothing that I can do. So, you know, please give me a chance. I will help you guys succeed. Okay. Okay. All right. So last thing to go over before we go to the course website is the first homework assignment. So this doesn't count as one of the problem sets. That's why I call it homework 0. But the first assignment is to, you know, just send me an email just to introduce yourself. Okay. And you get full credit just for completing it. So basically everyone starts the class with an A, which is always good. Okay. So make sure to include your name, your year, and your major. Okay. You don't have to answer these questions here, but I just have them in case, you know, you're kind of struggling to figure out what to talk about. Okay. So first question is, what kind of career do you want to have? Second question is, what do you want to learn most from this course? Number 3 is one I'm very interested in. And so if you have any worries or concerns about taking the class, you know, please let me know if there's anything I can do to, you know, to alleviate those concerns. You know, I want to make sure I do that. Okay. And number 4, the most fun one is, you know, what are your interests and hobbies? For myself, you know, I'm really into cooking. I won't claim that I'm good at it, but, you know, I enjoy the process of, you know, cooking something. You know, cooking something and my wife saying it's delicious is one of the few kind of small joys that I take in life. You know, that doesn't happen all the time. A lot of times you say it's too salty, it's too sweet. And so it's like, woman, I just spent 3 hours making this. But you know, for the time that she says that it's great, you know, that fills me with joy. I have 2 cats. I love them very much. And I like to play games and watch animals. So, you know, tell me your hobbies. You know, I'm very interested in learning, not from a creepy perspective, but just because I think it'd be cool. Just because, you know, we're going to spend the next 16 weeks together. So I think it'd be fun to get to know each other. Okay. So if you send me an email by Sunday, January 26th, I can give you credit for it. By the way, I do read all of them. So some people think that, you know, I don't read these emails. I read every single one and I do respond to every single one. So, you know, send it to me by this Sunday, you'll get a response and you'll start the class with it. Okay. All right. Any questions, you know, before we go to the course website? Okay. Okay, so let's look at the course website here. Let me switch to student view so you guys can kind of see what you guys would see. Okay. So I try to keep the course website kind of as clean and kind of simple as possible. I don't want to clutter with a bunch of stuff. The main place that you're going to see here is the homepage. And so when you first log on to the Canvas site, this is the page you're going to see. Okay, so you're going to see the title of the course. That's my name. That's when the class takes place. This is the location. Everyone knows this because they're here. If you don't know this, you're probably not here. So we have a little description of the course. This is straight from the syllabus. Okay. We have the course learning objectives, and you can download a PDF version of the syllabus here as well. Okay. Although, you know, we basically just covered everything in the syllabus, but, you know, if you wanted to find out, you know, when the exam dates were, you know, it's here, and everything. Okay, Zoom links. And so, you know, I do stream all of the lectures. And so if you feel more comfortable attending the lectures on Zoom, you're certainly welcome to do that. Okay. And so, whether you come here in person or you attend on Zoom, it doesn't matter to me. The only days that you are required to be here, though, are the exam dates, kind of what I mentioned before. Okay. So don't log into Zoom on the exam dates. I won't be there. You should be here taking the exam. Okay. And here are all of the Zoom links for the office hours too. Okay. Remember, Monday office hours are virtual only. Okay. But the main thing to see on the homepage here at the bottom is what I call the course outline. Okay? So you can see here, I've broken down the course kind of week by week in terms of what topics we're going to cover that particular week. Okay. And as we go along in the semester, each of these, each of these weeks are going to become clickable. Okay. So you can see so far, we're only on week 1. So only week 1 is clickable. So if you click on this, okay, you'll be taken to a page that shows you kind of everything, all the information that you need to know for that. Okay. So here I have a little bit of a blurb, kind of describing what we're going to learn that week. We have all of the learning objectives for the week. Probably the feature that probably a lot of people will be using are the lecture recordings. So after every lecture every day, I post the lecture recordings to YouTube. So that includes the audio and includes kind of the lecture notes as well. And so the links to those YouTube videos will be shown here. Okay. Right now, those links aren't clickable just because those lectures haven't happened yet, or I guess the first lecture is happening right now. But most of the time you should expect the lecture recordings to be out the next day. Okay. I usually do those before I go home. Okay. Any assignments that are due that week will be here as well. So you can see that we have a link for homework 0, which is the introductions. Okay. I'm working on your homework 1 as well. So I expect that to be posted before Thursday's lecture. Okay. And any files that you need for the class, any kind of handouts or lecture notes or lecture slides will be posted here as well. So what I always recommend to people is that, usually I have the weekly page for the next week up on Friday. So by this Friday, the page for week 2 will be active. I always recommend people, maybe before you head off for the weekend or maybe at the beginning of the next week, check out the weekly page, just kind of get a glimpse of what we're going to learn that week. Download any of the lecture notes that you need, but also kind of more importantly, stay on top of the assignments and okay. Any questions on the course website so far? Okay, good. Okay, next tab we have here is the announcements tab. And so, all of these announcements are sent to you, but if for some reason you want to look back on it, so let's say you deleted the email and you wanted to, download these links, you can see these here. Okay. I don't send announcements that often. I think most of the announcements you're going to see are going to be reminders just when the exams are going to be. Okay. Oh, by the way, so someone asked this in my last class, but my policy for exams is that, I do allow a cheat sheet for the exams. So that's an 8.5 by 11 sheet, both sides that you can handwrite or type. Okay. That's still way far in the future, but in case you wanted to know, just because a few people asked me last class, that's my policy. And I'll remind that here as well. Okay, assignments. And so all the assignments and their due dates will be here. Okay. Any assignment that requires you to submit a PDF, so all the problem sets, you can do that here as well. Okay. Next tab here is the grades tab, so you can kind of see how your grade is, and you can see the different weightings for the different categories here as well. Okay. Next tab is the people's tab, and so you can see everyone that's in the class. Okay. Next tab is the files tab, and so this is probably the other tab that you're going to see here most often. Okay. So we have the assignments tab, and so all of the problem sets will be posted here. Next folder is the lecture notes. So I've actually posted all of the lecture notes for this semester. Looks like I also have a previous final exam and some study guides here as well. Okay. And any homework solutions will be posted here as well. Okay. Okay. I have the quizzes tab here. I don't plan on conducting any quizzes on Canvas, so I'll probably disable that. And then the last tab here is SOQs, but that's not going to be open until the end of the semester. Okay. Okay. Any questions on the Canvas site or just any questions on the course before we wrap it up for today? Okay, all right, so that's all I have planned for today. So on Thursday, we'll have our kind of our first real lectures on first order ODEs, okay? So technically, this class goes until 5:15, so if you have questions on enrollment or anything, I'll stick around. But if not, hope you guys have a good day. Thanks for coming today, and I will see you on Thursday. Yes. Yeah. Hey, how's it going? Nice to meet you.
I know.
Okay.
I'll see you on
Yeah.
Thursday.
Probably I'll give you the midterm before you leave or after you come back. Or I'll probably give you different midterms, but just remind me then.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, yeah, thanks for letting me know.
Yeah, I mean, that sometimes like push it back.
Yeah.
If it gets back and back, that's like,
Yeah, we'll talk more when it's a little bit closer.
okay.
Yeah.
So I was, so to, I mean, it'd be a comment.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you, appreciate
Thank
it.
you
Yeah.
so much. Hey, I have
Hi.
a quick question.
Sure.
So I'm actually a civil engineering
Okay.
major, and I was wondering, I know this is ME, so mechanical.
Yep.
Is there anything like different? Because they said I'd get credit for this class, but I wanted to see if like the concepts would be any different.
No, so this
Or
class
like-
is pretty much pure math.
Okay.
Some of the examples may be some little bit engineering or mechanical engineering, but civil and mechanical are very, very close. So
Okay, so
I
I won't be
think
like
you're not
at
gonna
a
have any problem.
disadvantage or anything. Okay, thank you so much.
Yep.
Have a great day.
You too. Hi.
Last semester, I noticed that for the fall and spring that you do the innovation expo.
Mhm.
And I wanted to know like what, because I wanted to get involved in that. I didn't
Okay.
know if it started last fall.
Innovation Expo, is that the senior design thing at the, I know they call that something different.
Oh, is that?
I'd have to look up, let me see. Innovation Expo, there's so many different things here.
Just research as students?
Okay. Okay. Okay, yeah, it's the research thing. So are you interested in doing a research?
Yeah.
Okay, why don't you send me an email? I think we should probably discuss, probably, offline to see kind of what your interests are and kind of what a good project would be. So, yeah, let's set up a time to talk, maybe sometime this week.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah,
Thank you.